running out of time, cause I can see the sun light up the sky. So I hit the road and overdrive, baby. I'm going through withdrawals. You don't even have to do too much. You can turn me on with just a touch, baby.
Yes, get in again, and again.
Yeah.
Yes.
Lads, 3 wins out of 3 this week, 9 points out of 9, 15 points out of 15, 5 on the bounce. Couldn't really get any better, could it, at the minute, would it? What do you reckon, lads? Daz?
No, can't get any better. Maybe I'd say maybe a win against Villa in a week's time might make it even better again. But yeah, no, we're flying it at the moment, and we didn't have make it difficult for ourselves. But we'll get into that.
Certainly will. Pete, how are you, mate? Did you enjoy the game today?
I don't know about enjoy. The old tick is not in a good way, but I tell you what, I am buzzing right now. Toast to everyone in the chat. Hope you're all well. This is for us. We're back in business. We're in the race. We're heading the race for Champions League football, and I'm loving every second of it.
I think we all are at the minute, aren't we? We just want this season end now and finish exactly where we are, don't we? But let's get into it. Brentford match day reaction. So 2 o'clock came about and the lineup was released, and there was 2 changes to the start 11. There was Wilson dropped out for Alexander Isak, who was recalled, and also Joe Willett came in for Alassane Maximin, who was not in the match day, scored full stop. Obviously, was a few shocks there. We got a post on Instagram a little bit before kickoff saying I will be back at his space hub there as well. So he must be just having a trip to the moon and back. But Daz, what were your thoughts on the lineup when you saw the 2 changes?
Yeah, I suppose the big shock was no ASM, because like he deserved his place in the team from his outing the last day, and yeah, I wasn't too surprised that Isak came in for Wilson, because Isak's on fire as well as Wilson, so it is good to bounce them off each other as well. But no, the only big one was ASM, and yeah, that picture I thought is he gone to Mars with Elon Musk or something like that. It did look like a SpaceX kind of style thing that was going on there, but where is that? What is that?
I don't know. I think it's one of that capsule thing he goes in for when he's doing his rehabilitation, isn't it? You remember he's done it before. You remember when there was all that
Yes.
Twitter breakout and everyone kicking off because he had his trainers on in this hub or whatever and was just meant to be relaxing and taking the piss. I just think it's that. But
The oxygen tank.
Yeah, I think it's the oxygen, obviously to help with his recovery on his hamstring issue. Yeah, so.
So I wonder where is he? You remember he went back to France for that before, didn't he, as well?
I don't know.
He'll be in France. It's only down the road from London.
Well, see, he's halfway there for where he is anyway, Pete. So.
Yeah, there you go.
So, Pete, what did you make of the 2 changes to the starting lineup?
Absolutely gutted at seeing Alassane Maximin not in the squad. Obviously, it's an injury. House confirmed it's going to be 2 weeks. They're looking at maybe the Spurs game we'll be back for now, which is disappointing because, as Daz quite rightly said, he's been in fantastic form. The Isak thing, I expected Isak to come in. I think he deserved it, if I'm honest with you. He didn't really deserve to be kind of put on the bench against West Ham, but Callum Wilson was fantastic. It was only right that Isak came back into the team as the guy who has been the man really recently. And so, yeah, didn't have any qualms with that or the rest of the team. It was just a case of what we could do on the pitch.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now, as we're going to get into this game, we all know, and if anyone who might not have actually seen the game live, it was pretty much a game of what that old saying of two halves, wasn't it? Now, we against West Ham, before obviously we took that lead through Wilson. West Ham were pretty much on top of us for that first format. Now, unfortunately, Newcastle didn't learn against Brentford, and unfortunately, it seemed to happen for 45 minutes today. So look, we'll get into it, and obviously the first main talking point in the first half was on the 8th minute. Ivan Toney, he scored against Newcastle back at St James's Park. There's a flick on header from the ball in from the left-hand side. Pope makes a fantastic save, and sure enough, Toney's there on the rebound. Nobody near him. He lifts the ball over Pope and in the goal. I know from what our chat was going, everyone was a bit gutted because obviously we'd started really slow and stuff like that. But then we got that, the fantastic little VARs. And bear in mind, we had a few VARs. This was the only one that was a good VAR. We got that lovely screenshot that said, check and goal, possible offside. Sure enough, it went on and on and on. And to be fair, I don't know why it took this long, lads, if I'm honest, because we could see clear as day when you actually looked along the line, even there without the lines, you can clearly see that Toney, the way he's angled his run, he's offside. So why it took that long to get to the decision that it came to, I don't know. But, the right decision was announced and it was given as offside for the goal. However, we still didn't learn. After 16 minutes, Janssen went off with an injury for Brentford, which was a good talk because he's a fantastic centre-half, Janssen, as well. So, you thought that was something that, our attacking three could possibly take advantage of. It didn't happen. And sure enough, 12 minutes after that substitution, what's it? Sade, wasn't it? The lad from Brentford, wasn't he? And to be fair, he had a fantastic game for especially the first half where he had our back four, especially Shaw, Botman, and Bird. He was just ran them ragged. He just every single time he knocked the ball past, he was gone. When unfortunately he got past Shaw on the sideline, on the left hand sideline, cut in. He played it's one of those balls where it's tempting to go for, which is what happened with Botman. It was just enough where you think, is it too close to the defender or not? But because he was so quick, he was able to get that touch in just before Botman, and obviously Botman flew in. It's probably one of the worst things he's done it since he's been at Newcastle. Obviously, he obviously thought he was going to get it, but then just made an absolute hash of it, and unfortunately gets a booking for it, and it's a penalty. And going off our chat in the WhatsApp, everyone's going, penalty. Toney, and he scored a penalty at St James, and it was going to be a repeat of this. And then all of a sudden, Toney takes his penalty. Nick Pope, the fantastic Nick Pope. Nick Pope will get trending again. We'll get Toon Pulls on the case again, like we did earlier on in the season. Guesses the right way. Fantastic save, and he was straight into his hands. To be fair, it's probably one of the worst penalties you're going to see all season. Daz, what did you make of it?
I was absolutely delighted for Nick Pope, and you've heard me talking about my little boy the last day, but he's gone mad into goalkeepers since the World Cup. But he every time we're out playing football now, it's Nick Pope. I want to be Nick Pope, and I want to be Nick Pope. Popey. But yeah, great to see Nick Pope make that save. Once Toney was stepping up to a penalty, he doesn't miss, and it was just like, yes, it's because I had thoughts of the last time we played them, and he scored the penalties that time as well. And so, has Pope learned from this? Has he learned anything from this? But maybe he's going to outsmart him today, and he did. And fair play to Pope. And I know you still haven't even got through that first half, but apart from Pope in that first half, that was all. That's the only one that played well in that first half. With a great save from Pope. Delighted for him.
Yeah, Pete, what did you make of it? Do you think it was a penalty for a start? I think that's quite clear cut, really, but obviously get your thoughts on that, and then obviously the save.
Yeah, it has to be a penalty. Has to be. I think you made a good point, Richie, and I think you're right. Is that Botman almost feels like he can get there, and he accelerates, and then realizes actually I can't get there because Sade is faster than I thought, and he kind of just stops. And Sade kind of they kind of collide. So he's not literally gone into him; they've just collided. But when you're in the box, you're asking for a penalty to be given. So no qualms about that. The one thing I'll say is that was Ivan Toney's first penalty that he's ever missed. Equally, if you watch Ivan Toney's penalties, they're never really great. They're just put the opposite side to where the keeper goes because he keeps an eye on the keeper. But he just had something a little bit different about him. If you watch it back, he doesn't look confident in himself. Pope's a big guy. He's an imposing guy in the goal compared to other goalkeepers. And all it took was Pope going the right way to make the save, and fair play to him. It looks like a poor penalty, but actually, if you see some of the penalties that he does score, a lot of them are like that. They're just the opposite side, so it looks a good penalty because he sent them the wrong way. But I'll be honest with you, I was shocked when I saw it. I was just like, I was straight in the chat, saved, because I couldn't believe it. Lee was here. Lee was around, and we were watching the game together, and he was like, we were just like hands on the head, couldn't believe it, thinking like we got away with one here.
Yeah, well, to be fair, sorry, go on, Daz.
No, I forgot what I was going to say. No, carry on.
No bother. So obviously, in that same move, obviously we said that Bot made the challenge. It was a penalty. He was given a yellow card. Right decision, yellow card. There was a few hums and haws that I've seen about was it a goal scored opportunity? Should it have been a red and stuff? For me, Buchan, Daz.
What was this, Richie?
Botman's yellow card. I've seen a few people mention, was it a goal scoring opportunity? It's obviously from the Brentford side of things. Was it a goal scored opportunity? Was it a red? Or was it a good for me?
Yellow. Yeah, yellow's enough. No. I think I even missed him getting the card. I was so frustrated with the fucking penalty. So I didn't even notice the card.
He didn't even need to get booked. In my opinion. Why did he even get booked? The punishment's enough that you got given a penalty against you. Why were you even getting booked in that situation? I thought they were stopping that situation where players were getting doubly punished, like
double jeopardy,
for example. Yeah, they were trying to stop that. So that's kind of like, why are you doubling the punishment? Yes, if you look back, he collides with him. It's a penalty. Fine. Don't book the guy. It's not like you cleaned him out, 2-footed tackle, meant to pull him down. It wasn't one of them. I just forget that. I think we're just lucky that Botman's barely got a card this season, but I just think that's poor. Mm-hmm. But it'll go on to a further conversation about VAR and the referees later on in the show.
Yeah, sure enough. So 30th minute, that was the penalty saved. We're still in the game, 0-0. Haven't played well at all in that first 30 minutes. And you think, have Newcastle learned? And guess what? It's still not half time yet, and Newcastle haven't learned. Now, this is obviously a talking point. Obviously, the ball came in from the left-hand side, sorry, our right-hand side this time. And Rico Henry's made a run from the centre of the 18-yard box, and he's come to the front post. And Isak's obviously got his eyes on the ball, tried to play the ball to clear it. And as you can see on this pic, for me, he barely makes any touch on this. Obviously, Rico Henry gets to the ball first, and it goes to that. The thing, obviously, nothing was given on the field. We all thought, great, nothing's in it, stuff like that. But obviously, the longer and longer it goes on, and the longer that you see that they're checking for a possible penalty for the foul, you start to question what is on earth is going on. Now, obviously, we know that it comes back with decision. Now, was it a penalty? There's been a few hums and haws around this, and there's been a lot of chatter on Twitter about this at all today. And obviously, Alan Shearer turned around and says, "Look, it's not clear and obvious." And for me, if you look at the replay, obviously we haven't been able to download it because obviously for copyright and stuff like that. But when you actually, for me, when you see it from behind the goal, it looks obviously you can see the contact, which isn't deliberate. It's not high. That's only like around his waist. But Rico Henry seems to take a step, then go down. So for me, he made the most of it. Daz, what did you make of it?
No penalty whatsoever. The first one was a definite penalty. Except that totally, and when you see it live, you know straight away. This one, no way. And I think there was a few tweets going around as well, going back and the situations where feet were well higher, about twice as high as that.
It's funny you've got that. You must have seen the pics I've uploaded, Daz. You must have seen it because this is last week. This is
Yeah,
last week it's
There's
Man
one
United.
before as well, back when Sean Longstaff, I think, was involved in one as
Yeah,
well.
that was. I think that was Burnley, wasn't it?
And
A couple
but
of
yeah,
seasons ago, wasn't it? Yeah, during the
definitely not a
lockdown
penalty.
season. But you know, you look at that one there, and that his foot's in a dangerous position. Obviously, Fernandez, it's right next to his head, and nothing's given. But then, obviously, Pete, what did you make of it? Because for me, this is not a penalty all day long. There's no clear and obvious error. There's no maliciousness in it. He's just obviously got his eyes on the ball. Yeah, is it a clever run by Rico Henry? Yes, it probably is. But for me, it's not clear and obvious to overturn it and give a penalty. But what did you make of it? Obviously, see it because I think you were a few minutes ahead of us. But when obviously you were watching all our streams this afternoon. But what did you make of it?
Yeah, thank Lee for the fact that I was ahead with the stream. He
had
a super stream, which was like literally, it was only like 3 seconds behind live time. It was unbelievable.
The Sky connection, I like it.
I wish it was. It was the French connection that sorted him out.
Good film. Good film.
Yeah, very true. Look, it's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. It's not a penalty for me. It's not a penalty. And I'm so glad that you had the picture of the Shaw situation, because that is a penalty. How can you give that as a penalty, but not that on the screen right there? That was a blatant penalty. You know what? That wasn't even looked at. It wasn't even looked at by VAR. So you can get kicked in the face now and not be given a penalty, but you can get caught on the side. And it wasn't even about the run. From Rico Henry, it was the reaction. All he did is react to the fact that contact had been made, and he tried to force a penalty. But it goes back to the point, and so many in the chat said it, so many on social media said it, is that the ref was itching to give another decision today. He was itching. Right from minute one, we weren't given a fair crack at this game at all, from a referee standpoint. And it was never a penalty. Never, ever a penalty. You can see the ball coming over. Isak's got his eye on the ball, and he goes to win the ball genuinely, and he catches the player. He didn't catch him up here. He catches him at the side, and he barely even touches him. And he falls to the ground. And look, I'm not going to have a go at Rico Henry for that. Rico Henry's trying to win a penalty. Look, we've played football before. Like, if we're in that position, we're going to go down too. And I get that. But the referee should be smart enough to see. And he even had a look back at the monitor before making that decision. So it's not like he can make a decision in real time and just go with his gut. He's had an opportunity to look back on various different angles and see the fact that Isak's looking at the ball and not intentionally trying to make contact, and he's going there to win the ball. And actually, the contact isn't great. It's not massive. He's not cleared him out. It's not a Botman situation. He's cleared him out. It's a penalty. As Daz said, this is a different situation, and it just you know what, it's just another one to the list of disgraceful decisions by referees and VAR that have gone against Newcastle United in the last 2 years. And look, Ivar Savard is put in the chat, I'm sick of this, and I'm sick of it too, and I'm sure you boys are.
Yeah, I know exactly where you're coming from on that one. Now, obviously,
so agreed, no penalty.
No penalty. Right now, obviously, our good friend Chris isn't well. Chris, obviously, we think we'll get well soon. Chris always likes to play devil's advocate, doesn't he? And we all that's how he is. If the boot was on the other foot and it was one of our players that had made that run and had been obviously fouled like that, would you have wanted a penalty for Newcastle? Or would it have been a penalty for Newcastle?
Penalty. No. Look, you would feel that you got very lucky if you got a penalty for that. Really.
Yeah.
Like
you would if you're a Newcastle fan, because we had one last week and didn't get one. So you would feel lucky if you got one if you're a Newcastle fan. So that's the argument right there for me.
Yeah. So unfortunately, we said that the decision was a penalty after going to check the VAR, and up stepped Ivan Toney for pen number 2, and unfortunately this time Pope, fantastic dive the same way again. However, Ivan Toney got a little bit under the ball a little bit and was able to lift it over Pope unfortunately wasn't able to get it because he'd obviously gone down low rather than the middle of the goal. And it was 1-0 literally on the stroke of half time. And as we said, lads, it was 1-0 half time. Was that probably one of the worst 45 minutes Newcastle have played this season, Daz?
Yes. And what did I put in the chat? And I know you weren't really you stayed away from the chat, Richie, because I know we're all at different time zones when it comes to our streams. I think I was just slightly behind Pete, but I said bring on Gordon and bring on Wilson and go two up top. But yeah, no, it was definitely our. Oh yeah, we're dire in that first half. But it was like watching a totally different team to where we finished up the other night against West Ham. But it's 3 games in the space of a week, so you can understand that. And we never talked as well about the Bruno situation at the very start, because there was a question mark over whether Bruno was going to. Start, because he took some kind of a knock right before kickoff, and we were doubting whether he would actually play. I know it came up on my stream; they mentioned it in the commentary, but we will get into it. But he didn't look himself, especially that first half.
Stephen Kelly, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's it. From the Chronicle mentioned that he I think it's something about he went to strike the ball in the warm up and kind of like pulled up and went down for a little bit, and then got back up. And they weren't sure whether he was going to come out. He did come out. He was not. To be fair, Martin put it in the chat as well. Like he did not look right in the first half. Not that he didn't do well when he got the ball. He thought he was excellent on the ball, but he wasn't his dynamic self. We've seen in the last 3 games how good he can be when he's 100% fit. He wasn't today.
Right.
No,
as we said, sorry, Daz, were you saying something?
No, sorry, no, I was just agreeing with Pete. Yeah, no, he definitely wasn't himself.
So as we said, it was a game of 2 halves, and I have got some breaking news for you lads, actually. So obviously I'll put the breaking news up, as we all say. Everyone wants to know what went on in the dressing room at half time. Well, I can tell you, it was an Eddie Howe masterclass. So half time came, and we made 2 changes, and as Daz predicted in the chat. What did he say, Daz? What did he say again? Go on, Daz.
Eddie, sort it out. Bring on Gordon, bring on Wilson, and go 2 up top. I had Murphy to bring down. I didn't know who else to take off as well as Murphy, but that's why I left that bit off.
Yeah,
my message.
So obviously the other person who went off was Sean Longstaff. Daz, I'll come to you first. What did you make of the changes, and do you think Jacob Murphy and Sean Longstaff were a bit unlucky to be taken off?
No, because anybody could have been taken off apart from Pope in that first half. They were all because no one performed that first half. So look, some of them then got the chance to redeem themselves in the second half, because even when I look back at my ratings, the Murphy and Longstaff are down low because they didn't get the opportunity to pull it back in that second half. But no, it was the right call. We needed to go for it, even to get a draw. We needed to go for it at that stage. We don't want to be losing to Brentford and trying to get into that top 4. So yeah, it was the right thing to do, and fair play to Eddie Howe for going down that route and going for it early, not leaving it till 60 minutes. He went for it straight away, and the team responded.
Yeah, I think this is one of the things, isn't it, that you see from other fan bases are critical of the managers, that they always tend to leave it to 65, 70 minutes before making the change, whereas Eddie Howe's brave enough to make a decision whenever he needs to make it. And Pete, obviously, you saw those 2 changes there. How did you feel when those changes was the right change for the time, or do you think that obviously Murphy and Longstaff were unlucky? Or as Daz said, any of them could have been took off? What were your thoughts on the 2 changes?
No, they were the 2 poised players for me, and rightly taken off. You boys know how much we all have raved about Jacob Murphy recently. He's been excellent. He's been the difference coming into this team, but he didn't look right today. He wasn't at it today, like normal. And Sean Longstaff looked tired. he looked tired. He's played a lot of football recently, and he plays the full allocation of time. He very rarely gets taken off, but he looked tired and needed it was almost saving him by giving him a rest. But we also needed to change tactic. We looked at it, myself and Martin looked at it in away days, and the one thing we looked at the tactics board is the way in which Brentford set up. We very rarely now, in any football, at any high level, play against two strikers. And we did today. And I think we really struggled with that as a defensive partnership. And so what we wanted to do with them playing three at the back is go, right, okay, you're going to play three at the back. We'll play two strikers on you and we'll push you back. So exactly the right decision. Anyhow, this is what Anyhow does. He's not just a good coach, he's a good tactician as well. He makes tactical decisions that are best for this team, whether it's in game, whether it's before game, or whether it's after game in preparation for the next game. This is what Eddie Howe's all about, is the full package. And it was a fantastic piece of tactician by moving players around, bringing on Wilson, bringing on Gordon, and effectively saying to the boys, you better go for this in the second half. And boy, did we get a reaction.
You're right. As you just said there, Pete, we had to go for it. Obviously, we see, if you look at Man United won earlier on the day, I believe it was 1-1 with Tottenham and Brighton at half-time. Obviously, we don't know whether they, in the dressing room, whether they look at what's going on, other results at the time and stuff, but it was a big result today. And we talked about that beforehand, before the game, that there was a lot riding on this because it's a very pivotal thing. We discussed it the other week when we were going through the fixtures of all the people who were competing for the top four, and we mentioned that the Brentford and Villa games were two tricky away games. And sure enough, first half, we backed up what we'd said, but obviously second half came out. We came out the blocks. There seemed to be some fantastic little link-up play between Wilson and Isak, potentially not on the final ball, but for me, that's probably because they haven't really played a lot of minutes together since they've both been fit in the club at the same time. So, you've still got to get on the same wavelength. It's really been either or that they've been on the pitch. So, but sure enough, that pressure within 9 minutes, in the 54th minute, Big Joe stepped up. Fantastic, run down the right-hand side, and he got past the defender really well. And as you can see here, got down, tried to put the ball in the box. I think it looks as though he was going for Wilson, and he megged Rhea, and Rhea unfortunately put the ball at his own goal. Obviously, we'll give Big Joe the goal because obviously we don't like to see own goals on this show. So Joe Linton, obviously Daz, I know you've got to have the Joe Linton.
Big Joe's getting that goal. No way we're giving it to the keeper.
Yeah, Big Joe. So Daz, what did you make of the goal? Fantastic move.
Oh, it was a class move. Great solo move, really, by Joe Linton. He did a nice little dummy on the defender, and then he just whacked it across the goal and in off the keeper's leg. Fair play to him. Brought us back into the game. A bit of relief from being 1-0 down to back into it so early into that second half, and then we realized, we've got two up front here. We're going for this now. We might concede another, but we're going to score more goals here. So it's just about to get, because you'd nearly fallen asleep in that first half. But yeah, it was about to get interesting at that point.
Yeah, Pete, what did you make of the move and the goal?
I thought it was a fantastic piece of skill by Joe Linton. I think it was Ben Mee that left for dead in that corner of the pitch. And look, but even before the goal, the way we started the second half, we looked like we meant business. We controlled possession. We were forcing them back. We were putting pressure on them in defensive areas, something we weren't doing in the first half at all. So for me, I'm not saying the goal was coming, but creating those type of moments was coming, and great piece of work from Joe Linton. Look, I don't care whether it came off Rhea, whether it came off Joe Linton's backside or little toe, big toe. I don't care, as long as it hit the back of the net, and it did. It was a goal that was perfectly timed, and I was up celebrating and going mad. And to be fair, I turned to Lee, and Lee said to me, he was like, "You boys are going to go for the win now." And takes us on nicely to the next sections.
It was, so as we said, back level, and we didn't take our foot off the gas at all, did we? We were absolutely phenomenal, and we could have scored several. And it was the interesting point is why I brought up the link-up play between Wilson and Isak was because, sure enough, commentator curse came back to bite them. Obviously, benefited Newcastle because Wilson cut in from the right, just outside the 80-yard box, and he laid a fantastic ball, lovely weighted pass straight to Alexander Isak, who from 18 yards out, centre of the goal, curled it top right-hand bins. Couldn't have placed it much better. And then, sure enough, Newcastle, a 2-1 lead. Alexander Isak on fire at the minute. And run off to the far corner to celebrate his goal with the fans. Now, Daz, what did you make of the move in the Isak's finish? Absolutely sensational.
Oh, it was, and it was very unselfish from Callum Wilson as well. Like, we talk about the battle they're having about who's going to start, who's going to get more goals, but just shows you they can play well together as well. They have done in the past as well, and when it was against Fulham, where they set each other up as well. And but yeah, absolutely delighted, and a great finish from Isak. Like, he must have been thinking as well, okay, it was my fault as such for the penalty that they scored from, and to redeem himself, and he was full of life in the second half, and he ran himself ragged, and he was wrecked coming the last 10 minutes of the game, Isak. So but great finish, great goal, 2-1 up. The dream is still alive at that stage, so all happy.
Yeah, we were all buzzing in the WhatsApp chat. I was keeping an eye. I was a bit of what was going on, and it was, yes, I wasn't commenting, but you could see the euphoria going through the Loaded Mag WhatsApp chat when that ball went in. It was a fantastic goal, and it was fantastic to see the link up play between these two, and Isak obviously acknowledging the assist by Callum Wilson. Pete, what did you make about the whole of it? As I said, it was a sensational finish by Alexander Isak, but obviously you've got to see the fantastic move and link-up play between these two, and what the potentially they could do if they were to be on the pitch together.
I wasn't surprised by the link-up because they'd already shown it, as we mentioned, against Fulham. They can link up together. They're intelligent. They're intelligent players, but Callum Wilson was excellent when he came on. His hold-up play, ruffling feathers of the Brentford defensive line, was exactly what we needed. But that's a world-class finish right there. What you saw right there, no other player on the pitch. And look, Toney was fantastic today. Ivan Toney was outstanding. He had a very, very good game. He was a menace to our back two. Those centre-backs have not been worked harder than he worked them today for a long time. But he can't do what Isak did. That's why you pay 63 million. That's why you pay 63 million for a 23-year-old with potential to be one of the best strikers in Europe. He has proven again how good he is. That finish was outstanding. Just everything about it. The ball was given to him with incredible spin. He uses that spin to generate the bend on the ball into the far corner. Ray is a fucking good goalkeeper. He couldn't get anywhere near that. Like, one touch, bang. Didn't need a touch. Fell onto it nicely, bang. And Callum Wilson being on the pitch was a huge factor in him scoring that goal. And because Callum Wilson was such a menace up there and creating problems, it meant that Isak could fall a little bit deeper, which is what he did against Fulham. And it allows him to come onto the ball rather than be up there in and around the striker and in and around the defence, and that allows him to hit the ball the way he does. No keeper saving that. Outstanding. Just a world-class finish from a top European talent. And I was absolutely buzzing. And genuinely, at this point, I'm thinking, this is the game. Because at that point, I'm thinking, these boys are switched on now. We are not losing this game. And we just needed that moment of magic, and he provided it. Outstanding stuff from Isak.
Richie,
Yeah.
can I just put in for a second, because
Of
there
course
was
you
a
can.
same question twice here, and I just checked out Sky's details here. So Frederick asked us about, was Joe Linton booked? Did he get a yellow card? And also Les asked us as well. Yeah. So on Sky, no yellow card for Joe Linton.
No, I've got no Joe Linton yellow card today. The only people that got booked today were Botman and Isak.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Grant, Botman, Isak, and yeah, that's what I have to. Cool. Carry
No
on.
bother. We'll tick that one off then. Got that one right.
Yeah.
So, I think one of the things that Pete mentions really about the finish, obviously, it was the first time finish by Isak. Now, we saw that earlier in the season. Miggy scored a similar goal, didn't he, from the right outside the box, left hand. First time, curled it to the far corner. I think that what shows about Newcastle, and to be able to do that sort of thing is having confidence through the team. You don't try those sort of things if things aren't going well and there isn't, you've got that self-belief. Sometimes you can try it and you'll end up rose red or whatever. But the fact that you see us scoring fantastic goals like that in a season, it says that there's wonders going on in the dressing room. The belief that every single one of them who's on in the squad with them, whether they're on the bench, that as we'll see when we get to the team four at the end. Once again, the team's all together, and obviously, I think that finish sort of epitomizes all of that. When team spirit and confidence is high, you feel like you can do anything. And Isak probably will do a bit more than other people because obviously we know what of a world class caliber player he is. But look, we still love it. Fantastic goal today. Probably going to be one of the goals of the season for Newcastle, I would say. But then, look, 5 minutes later, Pete shouts in the WhatsApp chat, 3-1, Wilson. And that's it. We can't believe it. Wilson's off.
I know.
And then we're all jeering and chanting and celebrating. How couldn't get any better. And then, there we go. What's going on now? And then, sure enough, the dreaded possible handball. And I don't know what you lads thought. Obviously, we were always told that if it was arm clear, obviously, if it was your shirt above, it wasn't classed as a handball. If it was below the sleeve line, obviously, it was handball. For me, I thought it hit him on his shoulder, on his shirt. So for me, that wasn't a handball. Daz, what did you think? Well, did you think it was handball or not?
You know what I thought, Richie? I thought, pause for 1 second. There's 352 people in watching us live. Make sure you hit that like button, and make sure if you're new to Loaded, hit that subscribe button as well. It really helps us and pushes us up the algorithms as well, and then helps us grow and get our shows out to more and more people. But to answer your question, Richie, so yeah, no, that wasn't a handball. It just hit him on the sleeve, on the badge or whatever of the shirt. It wasn't a handball at all. It wasn't that part of his arm, and I was shocked that it didn't stand. But and gutted as well because then we can relax and we can start to enjoy the rest of the game. But no, we're on the edge of our seats for the rest of the game then, and in panic mode because after that actually I know we'll get into it, but they turned it up a bit then and put us under a bit of pressure. Pope came to the rescue a few times, but so definitely the goal should have stood, and Wilson would have deserved it as well.
Yeah, he was fantastic when he came on today. Pete, what was your thing? We like aligned with what me and Daz were saying, that it was very harsh against Callum Wilson.
It shouldn't have been given. It should never have gone to VAR. Nothing wrong with it. He's not intentionally gone to handle the ball. Up here, not handball. So don't go to VAR for it. It's clear and obvious errors. It wasn't a clear and obvious error. VAR, again, have gone and looked for a decision to make because they wanted to make a decision. And that is why it wasn't given. So as soon as VAR had the VAR check, I knew it wasn't going to be given because we'd had history in this game that we weren't going to get the decisions that we should have got. So they were fighting against us, fighting against the elements we were today. And I thought it was really harsh because I thought it was a really nicely well-worked goal. Nice little finish from Wilson. Would have took him joint top scorer with Miggy Almiron, and rightly so. And yeah, I thought he was really, really unlucky not to have that goal put on his record. But like I say, we were fighting the elements all the game today, all game.
I think what for me, and obviously we've talked about VAR a lot this season. Obviously, we've had Keith Hackett on the show several times this season to go over VAR and how the incumbents of it aren't delivering it correctly, and there's no consistency between it. Now, I think one of the things that has to be looked at full stop is this offensive handball, because if that had been the defender that had it, you wouldn't get a penalty for that, because obviously the ball's down by his side to start with. It's not it's not clear, and obviously he hasn't put ball to hand. He hasn't, he's literally hit his shoulder. We've seen it. He hits the sleeve of his shirt, and because obviously you benefit from a goal, he gets penalised for that. So for me, I think that, and I think you lads would be agree. That's definitely a rule that needs to be looked at over the summer. That rule.
Yeah, definitely, Richie. But all I care about now is the 9 games and us getting as many points as possible to get us into the top 4. They can sort the rules out after that. I don't care.
I agree with Daz. I'm just like, you know what? The only thing I care about now is the last 9 games for Newcastle United. But equally, in my mind, I'm thinking, I don't want us to be screwed over by some of these shite decisions later on in these next 9 games that could potentially cost us a place in the Champions League. Like, it winds me up because, look, we've had this conversation before, guys. We said, certain decisions that haven't gone our way last season or the season before. Oh, yeah, they'll correct it in the summer. They'll correct it. This shit's still happening. They've had seasons upon seasons to correct this stuff, and it's still happening. Nothing's changed. And I'm just like, why is this continuing to happen? Like, they just rock up on a Saturday or a Sunday or whenever we play, whenever the Premier League match is on, and just decide on the day how they're going to referee a game. If they're going to do that, might as well scrap VAR because it's pointless. Just let the referee make the decisions because it's not consistent across the board. We've just touched on the Shaw situation and the Rico Henry situation today. One was given a penalty and one wasn't. But it was the actual opposite, is that Shaw's penalty should have been given and the other one not. And it's just like, why are we continuing to be screwed over by this time and time again? Like, it winds me up massively. They can't get basic decisions right. The referees had so many times to have a look at the monitors and they're still getting decisions wrong.
I have to go to my own VAR room here because I want to clarify something here. It's back to the Joe Linton non-yellow card because Charlie reckons that he got in the first 5 minutes, but I remember that the instant now he did go in and attack it, and there was talk that he might have got a yellow card, but no, the referee did not give him a yellow card at that point in time. It was a poor enough challenge very early in the game, but no, he didn't get a yellow card at that point. So that's the bit that's confusing people, I think. But yeah, Joe Linton definitely yellow card.
No problem. Cheers for clearing that up, Daz. With your VAR, you've headed over the monitor and clarified it wasn't a yellow card. But as we saw, it was unfortunately we got the VAR went against us and we didn't get the goal. Now after that, it seemed we were still in the game. We had good control of the ball, but as time went on, obviously Brentford made changes. They made Mbemo and Batista came on in the 74th minute, started to change the game a little bit more, and then they went for it again. Jan Elton and Vissa came on, so there was a change of formation. So it was good to see that Eddie Howe looked at that and said, right, obviously we can see a change of formation from Brentford there, and he reacted as well. Now that's what you like to see from someone, don't just stick to your guns. And he went in the 87th minute, Lascelles and Anderson came on. We brought the extra centre defender on just to shut up Shaw. What's that? Yeah, I agree.
It's absolutely spot on. If that was a defender and it hit the defender like it hit Callum Wilson, we wouldn't have got penalty for it. Absolutely spot on.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, that's what I said.
Just on Lascelles coming on, Martin was absolutely delighted to see that happen. That stage of the game. Just anyone curious of that?
Yeah, but to be fair, the last time we saw Lascelles against Man City, He was the best player on that day against Man City. He was fantastic that day. But obviously that was when Isak picked up his booking as well. There seemed to be a bit of, I don't know whether it was just gamesmanship, but shithousery again, where he looked as though he was a bit confused whether he was coming off or not. But the referee decided to book him for that. And then just as Brentford piling on the pressure, looking to try and get an equaliser. So after the first two substitutions came on, Gordon made a tactical little foul right on the touchline in the 92nd minute, and he went over. And then I don't know what happened. I don't know if you guys saw this, but obviously he got replaced by Matt Ritchie. I wasn't too sure whether it was something to kill time, or had anyone noticed the way he fell? Had he got winded or something, or was it his ankle? You've gone over his ankle. I hadn't seen that. So
he's not injured. He's not injured. It's fine. But I think he just caught his ankle. Eddie Howe's kind of put an end to the discussion, because a lot of people, particularly in the media, were alluding to the fact that Anthony Gordon was quite animated and frustrated by being subbed off. Obviously, being the sub and then subbed off.
Yeah.
I think he let his emotions run wild a little bit, and I think
that's okay though.
He projected that towards Eddie Howe, and Eddie Howe had to kind of step him down a little bit and say, no, like, this is why we've brought you off. For me, it was clear as day. You bring him off to kind of give the lads a breather for 30 seconds to allow the team to reorganise. It might add 30 seconds on, but it isn't really 30 seconds. And what it does, it just allows a fresh player to come in that position, because Howe thought he got an ankle injury. He hadn't, and it was fine. There's no issues there, but that was what it was. And Eddie Howe's kind of cleared that up, and he was like, look, Eddie Howe's now had the conversation with Gordon, why he did what he did. And apparently it was like pictured with those two, and they were all smiles after the game. So
but it also...
Sorry, go on, Daz.
No, sorry. I hadn't heard Eddie Howe's press conference afterwards, but I thought it was going to be just a waste time. But I also don't mind that as well. That he wanted to stay on. Like, it shows the passion as well. Okay, maybe. So I'm not too. Fair play to you, Flash. That's what I'm trying to say. Because he did well when he came on, and he did really well tracking back at one stage, putting in a good tackle. But yeah, you, Richie.
Yeah, I was going to say the interesting bit is obviously there was that little bit going on between those two subs, but there was obviously we were under the cosh with Brentford, but we actually had two fantastic chances to actually extend our lead. Where obviously when Wilson was played through, and unfortunately he snatched it and sliced it wide. And then literally straight after the substitutions, they broke again, and the ball was laid off to Elliot Anderson. And he pretty much just tried to pass it to the far corner and made it an easy save for Ria. It'd be nice to try to put more power behind it and see if he could have rounded off with his first Premier League goal since he was so unlucky against Forest. But sure enough, lads, we held on. Fantastic 2-1 win at the G-Tech Stadium today. Look, lads, we knew, as we said earlier on, we knew it was going to be a difficult game today. We played them at St James's. We won 5-1. Yes, I think on that one, that game was very, very similar to what West Ham was the other day, where they made the mistakes and we punished them, defensive mistakes, and that's exactly what happened. And do you know what you've got to do? That sometimes you don't capitalise on the mistakes and you win games 2-1, 2-0, whatever. That's two games this season where we've been clinical and put them to the swords and if they've made mistakes. And you look at last year, we played against them last year with majority against 10 men, because obviously there was a sending off last year. I can't remember, was it the foul on it was on Matty Target, wasn't it, where the stud went through over his shin pad, didn't he? And it was pretty much played for 80 minutes against 10 men, wasn't it? So it was always going to be a bit more of a test against Brentford, who are having a fantastic season, fantastic home form as well. You've had some good results against good teams this year. Obviously, they had a fantastic win earlier in the season against Man United. A few weeks ago, went the Etihad and beat Man City, so they are capable of beating anyone on the day. And that second half, as I said, first half we had to just put it, draw a line across it, start again half time. Sure enough, that second half, we saw the real Newcastle, the Newcastle that we've seen week in, week out pretty much for this season. And we got the win that we thoroughly deserved and we actually needed, because obviously, as we found out by the results, Spurs got a 2-1 victory over Brighton. Man United, I know we'll get to that a little bit later, Pete. Man United had won 2-0 earlier on in the day as well. But look, we get to see the picture.
Yes.
We get to see it again. And look, fantastic as well. You know, it's fantastic to see these pictures week away. It's actually interesting to see Eddie Howe a bit close to the front this time on the left-hand side. Usually you see him right at the back. And sure enough, he's on the left-hand side. I don't know how that came about. But the other interesting thing I saw online today as well was, look, lads, it's great.
Yeah.
15 wins this season. Look at that.
It fits in nicely though, Richie. And I'm just looking at those pictures and I'm thinking, I really hope when we achieve Champions League football, I want to see Eddie Howe front and center in the middle of those pictures, because he's always at the back. I want him taking the plaudits if that happens. And actually, there's something I must clear up, because it's a very important question that's come in, and Stephen has brought up again saying about they had come up on the graphics about the yellow card for Joe Linton. I think Andy Davis is pulling the piss here now, because he wants me to clarify if it was a yellow card for Big Joe. And Andy, I can confirm it was no yellow card for Big Joe. So that was if someone else wants to ask me later on, do so. I'll put it in the chat. But yeah, no yellow card for Big Joe. Back to you, Richie.
Yeah. Another interesting picture I saw at the end, and it was literally, you know, they must have had a flight back home, because Isak was out walking the dogs when he got home tonight, and it was nice to see with his puppies there today. Obviously, celebrating his goals against Wolves, Forest, West Ham, and Brentford there. So look, that guy's on 4 minutes. You what? Sorry,
another dog. I hope he gets another dog next week.
Hey, he needs
or a few.
Needs to get some more puppies.
He can have as many as he wants if he keeps bagging them in every week, I tell you.
Shout out to Charlie Hotspur for his super sticker to the channel, $11.99. Thank you very much, Charlie, for your donation to the channel. And also, we have a new member as well. Ivor as well became a member on YouTube. Nice one. And actually, I saw something else as well, and I don't understand it because I don't know how to do it myself. Is that Sean talked about someone has gifted him a membership, and Judy goes on to explain that you were gifted the membership by Ivor. So well done, Ivor, in gifting Sean the membership. So well
nice
done.
Gesture.
That's a nice touch. I didn't know you could even do that. So cool.
Nice touch.
I was going to say, welcome back, Geordie Mick.
Geordie Mick.
He's back.
Where's he been?
About.
I know. Where has he been? Hope you're well. From all of us. Thank you for the £2 donation. Great 6 days. Missed you, lads, and we've missed you as well. We've noticed. We know. We as boys. We know when people have not been in the chat, because we're like, you know, we see the same names and the same faces, and we're like, where have they been? We've not seen them for a while. Great to have you back, Geordie, mate. Absolutely spot on. Top man.
Yeah, it's good to see the better story back in the chat there. So we'll say that.
breaking news again. Yes, another. Yes, that's where it's going to next. Another member. Welcome, Matthew. Welcome. Thanks for becoming a member. Make sure you're subscribed as well, Matthew. If you haven't been subscribed already, welcome to Load It. Welcome to the party.
As mentioned earlier, we've got 351 watching live on a Saturday night, which is fantastic viewing figures for a Saturday night. And obviously, you know, there's probably a lot of people like Martin who are out on the piss tonight celebrating Newcastle's win. But we're holding the fort for anyone who's not out tonight, who's having a drink in the house. So if you're liking what you see at the minute, you'll give it a subscribe, a like, subscribe free, get all the notifications free of charge, and you let every single show that we've got lined up on a week basis, you'll get a notification of, so you can tune in with us. Right, Daz's favourite time of the review show. It is ratings time.
Yeah.
So Daz,
this is where we all fight each other in the chat and on screen, and people complain about us on Twitter and everything. This is the best bit. All the action. Let's get it on.
Let's get it on, right. So, do we want to do... we might play it a little bit different this week. Do we rate the players on a whole 90 minutes, or do we rate them on 45 minutes? Let's play a little twist here.
This is
What
where
do
I
you
come
fancy
into
doing?
because I do this every week. Give a rating for the first half and the second half. So I don't mind, Richie. Up to you.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, let's do it on 45 minutes. However, there is one exclusion, and that is Mr. Nick Pope. He has to be judged on a full 90 minutes. Everyone, you in agree with that, Pete, as well?
Yeah, look, there'd be a lot of low ratings if we're doing it on the first 45 minutes.
We don't like low ratings on this show, do we? Really, to be fair, come on.
I know.
You know, we even when we give bad ratings, we still get people having to go as far either being too low or too high. We could never be consistent or whatever. So look, we'll rate Nick Pope on the full 90, and then what we'll do is we'll wipe that first half from Newcastle history and our memories, and we'll just start it. We gave them a 1-0 head start and just had a fantastic 45 minute second half. So, Daz, well, let's start with you. Nick Pope.
Well, it's easy for me for the first half. I give Nick Pope an 8. For a full time, though, I'll give him a full time rating as well. A full time, I give him a 9. And also, Nick Pope is my man of the match of today. There is one outfield player who got close to him, not close enough. But Nick Pope saving a penalty and great save as well in the 79th minute, and safe hands right through the game. So 9 for me and man of the match, Popey.
Pete, what did you make of Nick Pope today?
Yeah, 9.5. 9.5, man of the match for me. Nick Pope was superb. Yeah, when you want your keeper to stand up and be counted, he was the guy. We haven't really counted on him much recently, but we needed him today, and he made some big saves. The penalty, the Toney header in the second half that he pushed away, big saves, and he organised himself really well. Come and collected a lot of balls, got rid of a lot of balls into the box because they put a lot of crosses in. Very pleased that he was on song today. So yeah, my man of the match, 9.5.
Well, first, the one thing I will do straight away is that, because he was my man of the match too. I thought he was fantastic today. I think, one reason you should get man of the match full stop anyway and get a high rating, because I'll give him a 9 today. If you've got to look at that penalty save, we're looking at Ivan Toney. That's his first missed save penalty. You know what I mean? Nick Pope to stand up and do that. And to be fair, nearly got the second one as well. Because obviously you've got that decision. Well, is he going to go the same way? It's just as hard for the goalkeeper as it is for the actual striker. What's he going to do? Is he going to go for the other corner? Is he going to try and, go the same way? And I've got a double bluff sort of thing. So it's a difficult one to go for. He went the same way again, and it was unlucky not to get it. But as Daz mentioned, he made a fantastic save, just before the last 10 minutes of the game. When that header came in, and he not just obviously managed to push it away, because obviously if you look at the one in the first half where the goal that was disallowed for Ivan Toney, yes, he pushed it out, but that one went straight to Ivan Toney. Luckily, he was ruled out for offside. This one, you got a fantastic contact on it again, and he pushed it away. And, it was he managed to push it away in between the attacking Brentford player that was running in, and the defender sort of went out, and obviously we cleared the danger. And that's what you want, and that's why Nick Pope's an England international. And you look about the signings what we made in the summer. To get Nick Pope an England international for how much we did, it's absolutely fantastic business by Newcastle. I hate, we don't like Jordan Pickford. He had a fantastic game today for Man United. Against Man United today, he had a really good game. Possibly could have been man of the match for them. And we don't like saying that about Jordan Pickford.
I want to ask you boys a question. Everyone in the chat. If and look, I'd never want this to happen, by the way, but if, say, for example, Jordan Pickford had been our goalkeeper this season and not Nick Pope, do you think we'd be sitting on as many clean sheets this season and as many impressive performances that Pope has put in this season? Do you think we would have mirrored what we'd have done right now with Pickford in goal in comparison to Pope?
Probably not,
No,
because Pickford's a Mackham, and he wouldn't anything that would keep towards him. He just let
I
go.
know that. I'm just obviously
yeah,
I'm
and
putting it out
the
there
abuse he
because
gets, the abuse he gets from his own fans, like every game, would get into his head, I think. But no, no. But to answer your question, truthfully, Pete, no, I don't rate him as highly as Nick Pope. So I don't think we would. He would have done well, but not as well as Nick Pope.
this is why I'm asking the question, is because, and I'm not asking if that was actually the case that he would be in goal for us, because personally I don't rate him as highly as people in this country do. I just don't see it personally. And you're right, Richie. He did have a half decent game today, but I'm just thinking to myself, like, Nick Pope has come from a relegated team in Burnley to Newcastle United and is third in the league with 13 clean sheets and making some fantastic saves that are keeping us in the game at times. I don't believe that Jordan Pickford goes to a team like Newcastle and does exactly the same for his next club that he goes to when he leaves Everton. And that's my big thing. And I'm thinking, Pickford's number one for England. Why is Pope not being considered? Because Pope has everything that you need to have or want in an England goalkeeper. But that's why
I think the interesting thing is, I think you've got to look at it. It's not just Nick Pope that obviously shows how our defence has been. It's the back. Well, to be fair, our Newcastle defend from the front. It's not just obviously the back four and the goalie, but obviously if you look at the back four we've got, that back four is head and shoulders. It's the best of the Premier League, let alone better than Everton's. Yeah. So you look at that and you think, would Pickford do better? Yes, he'd probably do better than what he's doing at Everton. But for me, I think this is probably the reason why he's England number one over Pope, is the fact that he was at Everton when they were doing better, and obviously Pope was at Burnley, and I don't understand how this hasn't worked out in Pope's favour, because he's had to be counted on more times when he was at Burnley to show what a great goalkeeper he is, whereas Pickford was never as busy, in my opinion, as what Pickford is at Everton. Pope was always a lot more busy. He kept them in the game. They were defensively quite sound, Burnley, because you had Tarkowski in there, and me was there as well. Two fantastic centre backs. You know what I mean? And they were hard to break down at times, Burnley. But I think is it one of those where it's Everton were more fashionable, Pickford was playing higher up, so you don't really want to have your England national goalkeeper being someone who's a relegation threatened team, and does that play games with them, sort of thing. So for me, the only reason why I think Pickford's getting picked now over Pope is because he was getting picked earlier, and he hasn't technically done anything wrong for Gareth Southgate. He's made penalty saves in shootouts when needed. He's made some fantastic saves as well. I think it's probably one of those where Pickford gets injured and Pope will take his chance. That's how I think we'll have to get Pope the number one, England-wise anyway. But interesting question though, Pete, to be honest. Yes, breaking news, Daz, was it?
Yeah, breaking news there, and a great idea by I think it was Craig, but in the chat. Just to get to anyone that keeps asking about Joe Linton, we just clarified Joe Linton did not get a yellow card today, so that's what's scrolling at the bottom of your screen. And thank you, Craig, for the suggestion. It's been taken up.
Class. So we all put down Nick Pope as man of the match. Let's get to Kieran Trippier. Daz, what did you make of Tripp's performance today?
Trips, I gave him a 6 at halftime. At full time, I gave him a 7. Delivery at times was off. It showed leadership, and yeah, he was beckoning him to the bench at one stage. I don't know what that was about, but he was shouting over one stage. Yeah, I give him a 7. 7. Could have been better. Deliveries could have been better, but yeah, that's where he ended up for me.
Pete?
For the second half performance in isolation, I gave him an 8. Not necessarily for what he did on the ball, but his leadership in navigating us through a very, very difficult game in the second half. I thought he was excellent in the second half. He used all of his leadership in order to keep the defence in line, keep them intact, to stop any threat down his side, their left, our right. And I just thought he used his intelligence really, really well in those situations. It's almost like, for me, that Trippier went into captain's mode. He almost went into captain's mode at that point and was like, right, how can I make sure that this team gets over the line? And that's what you need sometimes in big games that matter, that mean something. You need that little bit of something extra. And I just thought he was absolutely spot on. So for me, I gave Trippier an 8. Like I say, in terms of his actual football, his getting forward, his delivery, all that sort of stuff wasn't quite there. But the other things made the difference. And sometimes you need the other things that make the difference rather than your actual football.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, if you, as you mentioned, there was that, what was it, Daz, that mentioned, there was that, I think it was around about the 80-minute mark, there was a bit of confrontation between obviously the bench and what was going on, because I remember, I don't know if it was on your commentary as well, he was actually giving directions to the subs off the side of the pitch as well. I don't know whether anyone else heard that in the commentary today about it. So it was obviously trying to organise everything on the pitch as he does. And he led by example second half. Yes, okay. You know, he tried to get forward when he could. Yes, his delivery wasn't there, but he still has that, you know, that footballing brain. And I think this is one of the things that you look at what he learned from Simeone at Atletico Madrid. You know, that's the sort of thing that Eddie Howe helps tap into as well at the same time. And that is that leader on the pitch. And he keeps everybody right. You know, we got all the mistakes out of the way in the first half. You know, he kept everyone in check the whole time through. When we went ahead, you know, not to overcommit and not do silly things. It was a completely different team performance. And, you know, you've got to have someone who's that leader who keeps that focus on it. And I thought for that, you know, I agree with what Peter said. I would give Chips an 8 on that. So all around there, a decent setting off from Chips. We'll go on to Fabian Schär now. Daz, what did you make of Fab's policy? Was it Fab or not Fab?
It wasn't Fab for me, to tell you the truth. With Schär and Botman, I give both of them a 6 at half time. But then for the end of the game, my rating, okay, I'll stick with Schär. I gave him, Schär done him for pace once or twice as well. He lost his man. I give him a 6.5, Richie. That's where I went up with Schär. Not be harsh, but
I think if you go off the second half, I gave him a 7. He looked a lot better than he did in the first half. The first half, you know, for the first penalty, when obviously Botman got the yellow card, made the foul on Shardy, it was like, I don't know, it was. I was bemused why Schär was right onto the left hand side. Anyway, bear in mind, obviously he's right centre back. And then I was thinking, did he slip? Did he dive in? I wasn't too sure. When I was looking at the replays and stuff, I couldn't see whether he'd slipped or whatever. But he just seemed out of pace, and I just think he looked uneasy with that lad who had the pace up front. He was just so quick, and to be fair, he had the run of Schär, Botman, and Burn today. He's probably someone that, or a similar ilk of player that Newcastle could probably have as like your third option, is it, you know, up front, if you want someone who's got electric pace to get in behind. That's probably, you know, if you were looking to buy a third, you know, striker or whatever, someone who's got that sort of pace, that electric pace to get in behind. And because we saw what trouble it did for the best defence in the Premier League today. So it's an interesting one. But Pete, what did you make of the Fab Schär's performance?
Yeah, I gave him a 7.5. I'm in agreement with you guys. He wasn't at the races. I actually thought he'd, again, like Longstaff, he looked really tired. He looked really leggy today. And it really told in his performance. It was okay with the ball, but certainly in defensive areas, he wasn't as quick to react as what he normally is. And so for me, he was okay. He managed some things very, very well, but he just wasn't quite at the races that we normally expect him to be. So 7.5, like I said, could have quite easily gone 7 with you guys, to be honest. But yeah, I just had 7.5 in my mind, so I'll just stick with that.
Okay, we'll move on to his centre-back partner in Sven Botman. I'd give Sven Botman a 7 as well. I think obviously I know we're not giving him marks on the first half, but he obviously did make that the error for the penalty. Obviously that didn't have any repercussions because Pope saved the penalty. Daz, what did you make of Botman's display today?
Yeah, well, he did get a good strong challenge in the first part of the game. But gave away the penalty then on that stupid challenge. Altogether, I give him the same as Shara. I give him a 6.5. Wasn't his best of days for the best partnership in the Premier League. It wasn't their best day. So yeah, 6.5 for me.
Pete, what did you give Sven Botman today?
I gave Sven Botman the same as Shaw. And the only reason he's got the same as Shaw and not an 8 is because of the penalty. That's the only thing that's really the difference in terms of rating. I actually thought Sven Botman was good today. I thought defensively he was very, very strong. I thought he was solid. I thought he really kept Toney at bay for long parts of the game when Toney was dominating. When he didn't dominate, it was because Sven Botman was very, very physical with him. I just thought the penalty kind of it will always cloud people's judgments of his performance because it was a poor decision. But he's only made, in my opinion, he's only made 2 of those in the season. So I'm not going to hold him to that. I'm going to say, poor performance, blah, 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 blah. It was one bad decision. He's 23 years old. He's going to learn from that.
Great age.
Yes.
Love it.
Yes, Daz. Get him.
You thought to get another radar? No, not my watch.
Sorry,
I think one thing that to back up what you said there, Pete, was second half for Sven Botman. You like players to learn as they go on during the game. And he came out a lot more confident. He actually came out knowing how to play, Kevin Shardy. You know, there was a lot of times when the commentator kept saying, he kept trying to go past Botman. You know, his eyes were lighting up every time he knew he was going to run against Botman. But for me, in the second half, he never really got past Botman. You know, Botman was, he knew that he had what he had to do against him. He adapted, he used his football acumen to right, I've got to do this against him. I can't do this, how I do it normally. He was giving him an extra yard and stuff like that. That's clever, and that shows why that Botman's going to be one of the best centre backs. Probably if he keeps going the way he's going, he's going to be in that ilk of Vincent Kompany, Van Dijk in their prime sort of thing. He's fantastic going forward. Pete, you going to say something?
Yeah, you're right. So Sven Botman is already one of the best centre backs in the Premier League. He's already proven that this season. But for me, I think the kind of praise needs to go for Sven Botman's second half performance needs to go to Eddie Howe and Jason Tinder, because I'm convinced that those boys had a conversation with Sven and said, look, this is what he's doing. This is what we're seeing he's doing. This is what you need to do in the second half to stop him playing. And he almost went, okay, you're doing this. I'm going to do this. And then Sade became a non-factor because he didn't do anything in the second half. And you've alluded to that. And that's where a top manager and a top coach and a top tactician in Eddie Howe and in his backup staff with the likes of Tyndall, that's where they make the difference. And he was very, very good in the second half on the back of that. I don't really remember a time where he put a foot wrong in the second half, if I'm honest with you. And over the course of the game, like I say, there's very rarely a time that Sven Botman makes a bad decision. Forrest with a pass back and the penalty today are really the only really major talking points that you can ever point Sven Botman to making a bad decision. He's had an outstanding season. I'm not going to hold it against him, but I'll put him alongside Shaw at 7.5 purely because of the penalty decision, but I could have quite easily given him an 8.
Okay, let's move on to Big Dan Burn. Daz, what did you make of Burn's performance today?
Well, I didn't have write anything special down about Burn. I actually just lumped him in there with Char Botman and gave him a 6.5 as well. So that's what he got from me.
Yeah, I thought he was steady today. Similar to what you mentioned in there. I think you give him a 7. Didn't do anything really outstanding. Did what he had to do, sort of thing. Pete, what did you make of Big Dan Burns' performance today?
Yeah, 7. I gave him a 7. Wasn't quite at the level of the other 3 defenders on the pitch. Again, he looks tired. I'm going to be honest with you. I think Dan Burns is probably going to start every single game between now and the end of the season. Because if he didn't get a rest today, he's never going to get a rest. And I think, like Longstaff and like 1 or 2 others, Shaw, he looked tired today. And Sade, I don't think they were ready for Sade. We talked about it on away days, and Lewis quite rightly said Sade is a player to look out for. If he starts, he's got incredible amount of pace. I don't think they were ready for realizing how fast and how dynamic he could be in that front line, particularly in the first half. And he really struggled on the back of that. And when you're tired and when you've played 2 big games before that and given so much energy to that, I don't hold him responsible. I just think when you put so much effort in and he's 6'5" and he's having to run back and forth, you're going to tire. And this probably was the perfect game to play a Matty Targett. And I thought Targett might have started with all the talk in the media about Matty Targett in the run-up, about Dan Burn getting a rest, Targett coming in. Nah, Burn played, and he played pretty much every minute. So for me, Dan Burn's going to start every single game between now and the end of the season, unless we wrap up Champions League football early and he starts kind of giving Elliot Anderson and Targett and even Manquillo a run out. I think Burn's going to play every game, but he looked tired. He wasn't quite at it as what we expect him to be, but we still won 7. Happy days.
Sorry, Richie. Someone's after pointing out, that since I changed the browser, my background was wrong. I was showing West Ham there. So fix that. Brentford. Yes, that's what happens when you change browsers mid-show to try and get everything else working.
I was going to say, I think the one thing about Dan Burns, I thought, you might get a rest against West Ham. I thought they might have brought Targett in against that just to, Burns had some canny opposition, like, one-on-ones this season, quite pacey. But he's done well. Bear in mind, he's not the fastest. He's not really a left back, and he's had a fantastic season. But at the same time, we also know he likes to keep Dan Burn on the pitch. So when we made the final change with Lascelles coming on, I was thinking, why not move Dan Burn into the middle and bring Targett back on, just so you've got a bit of pace out wide, sort of thing, so that you can still play with the 3 centre halves. You've got a bit of extra height in the middle as well. But, obviously, we don't question what Eddie Howe does, because, Eddie Howe's delivered a masterclass this afternoon. We can't really doubt what his ability is as a coach. He's highlighted one of the reasons why he's up there for Manager of the Year this year, because he's done wonders at Newcastle this season, his first full season in charge. Right, let's get on to the midfield. And what we'll do is we'll start with Sean Longstaff. Obviously, he only played 45 minutes, but obviously we've still got to give him a rating because he was in the starting line. Daz, what do you make of Sean Longstaff today?
Sean Longstaff. Actually, before I give them my rating for Sean Longstaff, I want to shout out to the GOAT for telling me that I had the wrong background. So yes, I do have to give you a shout out. Thanks for that, mate. So the GOAT we've got to get a 10 rating for me, but Sean Longstaff today got a 6 for me. He was only on the pitch for the first half, and along everyone else on the pitch apart from Pope got a 6 for me in that first half. So 6 for Longstaff. I just noticed as well, he does tend to win a lot of free kicks for us as well. He did win a few in that first half, so fair play to him for that. But 6 is his rating.
Yeah, Pete, what did you make of Sean Longstaff's first 45, the first half?
6. I always have 6 as a standard. Like when everyone starts
Football
the game,
Manager.
We've said it before, haven't we, Daz? Football Manager, everyone starts at a 6. Like that's it. You either underperform and go below that, or you kind of do all right. You get a 7 or above and beyond. For me, he was a 6. He kind of stayed there. Like I say, he was tired. He looked tired. You can tell in his performance. He wasn't as combative and got around the pitch as much as we know he can. Not going to hold that against him at all. He was tired. It's been a tough week, and rightly subbed. Give him a rest. Give him a week to prepare for a massive game against Villa. No problem at all. 6 for me.
I'm going to be a little bit out. I've got to agree with Michael Palmer. I thought he had a poor first half, but I think it's not mainly down to obviously just having. Obviously, we were all the whole team was bad first half, but I do think it is down more to tiredness. He's pretty much played every single minute this season. He's been, the stats back up. He covers the most ground each game, the most ground in the Premier League this season. He does the dirty work and stuff like that, and 3 games, in 6 days was going to, creep up. And I was surprised, to be fair, if obviously possibly if Alan Maximin hadn't gone down, we might have seen Willock come in for Longstaff, just because obviously Willock sat out on Wednesday. Whether they would have done the same for Longstaff, just to give him a bit of a breather and bring him on as an impact in the second half or something like that, just to keep the minutes down. But obviously he got the breather, but obviously probably not the way he wanted his breather by going off at half time, just in that tactical change. But I don't think anyone can really have a go at Longstaff. He's had a fantastic season, and unfortunately, he was part of the the scapegoat that had to be. He was one of the bodies that had to go off today. But we agree he's been fantastic this season, so we'll not have a go at him on that one.
Richie, can I just get in one thing? Because Rich was feeling a bit jealous earlier when we give one of our new members a big shout out. So we'll give one of our existing members, Rich Jobling, and he's asked about Splinter's score. I think a good old Keith had a rating of, or had a prediction of 2-1, if I'm not mistaken, in the way it is. And he also had Toney down to score. So Keith is probably watching in the background, doesn't always say something in the chat, but I think that was what he said. Were you right, Pete?
Yeah, I just put a comment out and just put. Sorry, 1 second. I think I took it off you. I just put a comment on there. Just put. He said a draw and or a win. In terms
I remember that
prediction.
I know. Obviously, I watched the away days and the fantastic shows. Obviously, you can go back on the channel, and if you didn't get a chance to have a look at it, check back at your leisure. But I do remember Mart saying, and he said at the start of the show it would be he said 2-1. So obviously, hats off to Mart and agreeing. I don't know I can't remember what your prediction was, Pete.
2-1 as well, yeah.
2-1 as well, was it? There we go.
But yeah, sorry, I'll take that comment off. I just keep touching the comments. I'm going to take my cursor away. I'm not going to touch anything else. We'll leave it there.
Just enjoy your brandy, Pete. That's it.
It's here. You know what? It's just starting to kick in a little bit. I'm not going to lie. The fun times are rolling here. It's been a great day, great win, happy times.
It's what you've got to do when you've won 3 out of 3, 9 points out of 9, and you're third in the Premier League. It's what you've got to do. Pete. It's what you got to do.
Hey, it's a hard life, eh?
Tell us about it. Right, that's Longstaff. Let's go on to Joe Linton. Daz, what did you make of J7 today?
J7 got a 8.5 for me. He was the best outfield player for me. He got the goal. He got the goal that started the ball rolling for us, and a nice individual move as well. So he's 8.5, and he deserved it today. And of course, he got a 10 and man of the match for us from me and you, Pete, in the last reaction show. So he's on a roll. So great to see.
Pete, what do you make of Joe's performance?
I gave Joe a 9. I thought Joe was outstanding today. Joe Linton, that is. I thought he was brilliant. I really did. Goal aside, own goal, whatever you want to call it. We needed him in that team today. And I just thought he was brilliant. Combative, bullish. He really gave everything to the team.
Watch this.
I just thought he was excellent. I really did. We've missed what he gives to the team when he was out for the last couple of games, or the couple of games before the World Cup. Not World Cup, international. Sorry. And I said since he's come back into the team, came on at Man United, played against West Ham and was excellent. And today I thought he was great. I really did. I think he's really built into his form. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm gutted. I'm gutted that the goal is not going to be given to him. It's going to be an own goal, because I think he's on 6 goals this season. There's a part of me that really wants him to get to double figures before the season, just to kind of solidify how good of a season he's had. It'd be great. And of course, there was no yellow card. just to confirm, for the 10th time in this show today, there was no yellow card for Joe Linton. But I would love him to get to double figures before the end of the season, just to kind of solidify his importance to this team and how brilliant he is for Newcastle United. But just to kind of almost wake up the Brazilian manager, whoever it's going to be. I know they've got an interim at the moment, to say this guy is playing outstanding football for Newcastle, getting us in the Champions League, got double figures for us this season. Get him in the Brazilian squad. Like he's out playing some of your boys that you pick week in, week out, that are playing in the Premier League, and he's doing the business. Like I love the guy. I think he's just so infectious. He epitomised everything that we needed, particularly in the second half. So I give him a 9. Fair play.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you, Pete. I thought he was our best outfield player today. I'd give him a 9 as well. It just following off what you say about getting double figures. Do you think it would be ironic if he got double figures pretty much predominantly as a midfielder when he was brought in as our new number 9 and he couldn't hit the? He's just I think that's just goes to show the wonders that Eddie Howe's done with him. Whether it be a mistake or not, he should. Right, so Daz, are you confirming that he did get a yellow card or didn't get a yellow card?
I don't know where people are getting this idea that Joe Linton somehow got a yellow card. It goes above my head altogether. This notion of that Joe Linton got a yellow card. I am not having it. Not having it.
I think if we just clear that up, Daz, that was the yellow card he picked up against West Ham, was it, the other night?
It could have been. Yeah, that could have been. Could be right. I don't know at this stage. I don't know anymore, Richard. No idea.
Love it.
But yeah, I just think it'd be really ironic if you got it as a bit double figures as a midfield. That'd be really, really nice to see. Right, let's move on to Bruno. Daz, what did you make of Bruno's performance today?
Bruno. Yeah. There was a question mark really over how fit he was after that injury scare before the game. He wasn't at his best, that's for sure. I had him down as a 6 in the first half, and but he did pick it up a bit in the second half. And I gave him a 7 overall. But for I always rate Bruno highly. I give him higher ratings in these ratings shows, but he got a 7 from me, which isn't too bad, but it's not Bruno as we know Bruno.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I'd give him a 7 today. I think it's one of those things again where it's, he's played a full 90 minutes 3 times in 6 days. It's just a little bit of time, and obviously Kieran Kelly from the Chronicle mentioned, he perhaps got that little knock in the warm up as well. And we know what Bruno's like. He's adamant he's going to play anyway. Do you know what I mean? He's going to come on. And he wants to, play his heart out for the Mags. You know what I mean? He just loves putting that black and white shirt on, and he knows how much of a pivotal game this was today. And whether he's carried that little knock today, he's got a full week to recuperate, rest up for Villa, which is going to be our 3rd away game in a row. It will be a test with Villa moving up to 6th today, another win today at home at Villa Park. So I know Rich Sutherland will be buzzing about that, and no doubt it'll be an interesting away days this week. I presume it'll probably be Thursday on that one, Pete, when we get round to it. But
just waiting for confirmation. That's all.
I was normally it's one of those ones where Aston Villa fans like to pull out of the away days show if it's when Newcastle are come to town on form, but it's going to be an interesting one with Villa hitting form as well and Newcastle hitting form. It's going to be one to watch next week, and that's obviously why it's the lunchtime kickoff on next Saturday. But yeah, I just think with Bruno, I think it's one of those things where it's been he's done a lot of minutes again. I think it's just that Tyson carry that knock, but he still delivered what he needed to do in there and helped run the midfield and helped turn it around in the second half. So, Pete, what did you make of Bruno?
Just waiting on confirmation from Richie, Rich Overland, not Richie, Rich. There's only one Richie.
That's Matt.
Sutherland.
Rich Joblin. Which one is it?
Richie. Richie.
No, there's only one Richie. I said there's many a Rich, but there's only one Richie. But just waiting back for Rich to see when he's available for away days. So either Thursday or Friday. But Bruno Guimaraes, I've given Bruno an 8. I could have given him an 8.5 because, and I'm going purely on the second half here. I thought Bruno, after a really kind of low par performance in the first half, I think he was kind of playing through the pain barrier, the injury, whatever it was that was stopping him from playing. He came out in the second half and he looked a different player. He was getting on the board. He was making runs further forward. He was getting involved in attacks. He was showing what we'd seen previously from him. Now, he's still not 100% fit. That's obvious. But I really liked what I saw from him in the second half. I thought he played really, really well. And so, I'm giving him an 8. Could have given him an 8.5, but I'd give him an 8. I thought he did really, really well. And even late on in the game, he was still pushing forward. I think he played a ball through to Wilson, who should have done better with his opportunity. And he played a couple of other balls through to players that were still creating opportunities off the back of that. And I just thought, he looked back to his best. And it fills me with confidence that there's not going to be any concerns between now and Villa next weekend, off the back of his second half performance, because I'll be honest with you, in the first half I was worried and I actually thought he might be one that could be pulled at half time because it wasn't quite convinced that he was 100% fit. So it just goes to show, it almost makes me think that when he has these moments where he's not quite 100% fit, it's almost like Tyndall and Howe have the conversation with him and go, you know what, just play within yourself. Don't go all over the shop. Don't do what you normally do. Just stick in the middle, get the ball and spray it. Don't do any of that stuff. And it was only really in the second half that he actually had a shot on goal. In the first half, he didn't want to shoot. He just kept passing it, playing it to the side. He had a couple of shots in the second half. Weren't great, but that was potentially what he got his injury from. So I was a little bit worried about that. But back to his best in the second half, so fair play to him.
Okay, let's move on to Willoquinho. Daz, what did you make of Willoquinho today?
I wrote down winning the ball back. But I gave him total. I gave him a 7. 6 in the first half, but 7 overall. Wasn't his best game. Quite enough for me. But 7 for Willoquinho.
Pete, what do you make of Willoquinho today?
7.5 for me. Willoquinho. He didn't really affect the game the way we expected him to. Coming into the team, replacing Alan Saint-Maximin. I actually think that it would have been better Willock playing in replacement for Alan Saint-Maximin on the left-hand side, so he could get the ball and run at defenders with his pace, his ability to play in that position. He played in that midfield, and at times he was kind of lost in that role, which we don't normally see from him. So it was a bit of a surprise. He wasn't completely at the races, but there was moments where he continued to make things tick and make things happen and progresses forward. So for me, I thought the second half was definitely better than the first. So I kind of Yeah, I'd just give him a 7.5. I thought he did okay.
Yeah, I gave him a 7. I thought he wasn't flashy. You know, he's had some fantastic performances of late, and just today wasn't his day. It's, you know, he did what he had to do, try to take us forward. I agree with what Pete says. I would have liked to have probably seen him on the left and use that pace, which we've seen in numerous times when he gets 1-on-1 with the right back. He's torched, you know, a few decent right backs this season, so it would have been nice to have to see what he could have done up against Aaron Hickey today, but it wasn't to be. So it's 7 for me with Joe Willock. Daz, we'll move on to Jacob Murphy, because obviously Jacob Murphy started the game and played the first 45. What did you make of Jacob Murphy today?
Jacob Murphy, this is easy. 6. He did nothing. Did nothing for me today. So he gets the. I know my camera's stalled there. But yeah, he didn't do much at all, Richie. And he gets a 6.
See, I gave Murphy a 5 today. I think Murphy's, you know, he's done some fantastic things. You know, I know we've talked about over the last few weeks. So Murphy's been fantastic. He's deserved to have his starting role since Miggy's been injured. I think one of the things that we've talked about is he's really good at when he gets that half yard. He gets that ball past someone and he whips the ball in. And I know there was a couple of times today where he tried to be Alan Maxima, especially when he moved onto the left-hand side. And rather than just getting that half a yard and playing the ball in or bringing someone else in, he was trying to take on 2 or 3 people. And for me, Murphy hasn't got that skill in him to do it. He's not that type of winger. You know, he's got he's fantastic at that half yard with the ball and stuff like that. Decent set piece. He isn't an Alan Maxwell, unfortunately, and I think that was one of the reasons what really let him down today. Just you know your game, and I think that's one thing that, as you know, you mentioned before about Eddie Howe and Jason Tyndall saying to Bruno, play within yourself. And it's also the sort of thing where you would be wanting to say to them, don't be trying to be someone else, be yourself as well. And I just don't think that Jacob Murphy did that today. I just thought do you know, it could be the fact that he's riding the high at the minute, crest of the wave. He's confident. He's probably been most of his Newcastle career. Do you know what I mean? And he wants to try some stuff, and I think so. That's good to see. But I think when you're in that sort of position where you're struggling to get into a game, and perhaps he's trying to create something. Obviously, only he'll know on that. But for me, I would prefer to stick to what he's strong at, and leave someone else's game to them, sort of thing. Whether they're not playing, either playing or not playing, shall I say? Pete, good timing. What was your thoughts on Jacob Murphy?
He was poor today. I think it was right that he got taken off. I bigged him up the last few games. I thought he'd been very, very good, but yeah, he was poor today. Didn't look at the races. Didn't affect the game in any way. Deserved to be subbed. You know, we've talked about players deserving their place in the team. Jacob Murphy's deserved his place in the team. Last few games, he's been undroppable. I mentioned that after the West Ham game, he is undroppable. But after today, if you don't perform, you don't put the performance in that makes the difference in the team, your place is in question. And going into next week, obviously, potentially Maxi out and Amir or whatever, might well earn his place back in the team, but it will be in question again. So yeah, it will certainly have Gordon knocking on the door going into the game against Villa. So not the best performance, I would probably say. Similar to Longstaff a 6.
I was just saying, obviously before you came back, I don't know whether you caught it. I was just saying about Murphy. We've discussed over numerous weeks that Murphy's fantastic as a winger, as and getting that half a yard, whipping the ball, and he's probably one of the best crossers at the club. But today there was a few times where he was trying to be a different sort of winger. He was trying to be a bit like Alan Maxwell, where he's trying to take on 2 or 3 players. And for me, he's not that sort of winger. I don't know if you would agree with that, Pete.
Honestly, that's the reason why I would have taken him off. I couldn't help but think that that he wasn't doing what he was brought in the team to do. So when he was brought in the team against Wolves, it was we're bringing him in the team to be direct, run at your fullback, beat him, whip a ball into the box. The old style winger, the Gillespie, for example. Be the Gillespie, beat your man, whip it into the box. That's what he's done. That's what he's been successful doing. But almost when you're a player and you then become regular in starting, you do try and think to yourself, oh, could I do this different? Could I adapt my game? Could I do this? And you forget your fundamentals. You forget your fundamentals of being what you are and kind of why you're in the team.
Yeah, it's just you've just backed up what I said. I've just said that, you know, he's confident at the minute. You know what I mean? He's playing probably some of the best football he's ever played for Newcastle. He's confident on the crest of a wave sort of thing. And sometimes when you become confident, you try things you wouldn't normally try to do, and you do things that you're not perhaps in the team to do. And I think, and as I said to Daz when you were away, that's, you know, I'll be talking to him afterwards, and I think Eddie Howe would do this. Will just turn around and say, "Look, this is your game, Jacob. Just stick to that. You're not Alan Sam-Maximin. There's probably nobody else in our squad who's Alan Sam-Maximin can do what he can do." Sort of thing. So for me, you know, he got a 5, but we'll move on to last of the starters. Alexander Isak, fantastic goal. Probably I can't see him scoring a better goal this season, even though his goal against West Ham and his cheeky little chat with Fabianski as it watching it goes and was a highlight in itself on Wednesday night. Daz, what did you make of Alexander Isak?
Alexander Isak, I'm going to say an 8 for Isak. Yeah, but they shouldn't have given away the penalty because it wasn't a penalty, because the foot wasn't high, and he was just clearing the ball. And great goal, a great setup by Wilson, and 8 for Isak.
Pete?
Isak, I give an 8.5. Wasn't really involved in much in the first half, but in the second half was hugely influential in what we did. Obviously, the goal stands out massively because he was class. But I just thought having Wilson alongside him elevated his game. The confidence fell into his lap. He looked confident on the ball. His runs that he was making were good. He was able to pick up pockets of space that he wasn't able to in the first half. We have to remember, playing as a lone striker is not easy. It's not easy. But then when you're playing a lone striker role with 3 centre-backs, makes it twice as hard. You're only adding another defender, but you're making the job twice as hard to do. So bringing Wilson on just allowed him to create a little bit more space to make the different type of runs that he likes to make. Wilson did all the kind of battery work. He battering around the centre backs. But Isak was very good. So I'll give him an 8.5. I thought he played really, really well, particularly in the second half. It created a moment of magic which won the game. So more than deserved it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've given Isak an 8. I thought his second half performance was exceptional. Much to nothing in the first half, unfortunately. But I think what helped in the second half was, as you've just mentioned, Pete. Yeah, you've got 3 centre halves, Mark, and 1 centre forward. You know, it's easy enough to deal with that one person. And I think with the fact that not having Alan Sam-Maximin there, and you haven't really got the out-and-out winger on the left, and then you've got Murphy on the other front, and he's trying to come across and do that. It's that going back to the old days when Alan Sam-Maximin was the main threat, and everyone used to double up on him. And then obviously, if you nullified that threat, there was nothing of Newcastle to threat elsewhere. Whereas I think that was very similar today. Obviously, you had no Alan Sam-Maximin today as a threat. Isak was playing as a lone man up front, trying to create stuff in the first half, couldn't really get much going. But then you bring on the additional quality attacking threat of Callum Wilson in the second half, and then obviously you give something of and bringing on Gordon as well, because you've got to take Gordon into that mix as well as an attacking threat. It makes the defenders question what they've got to do. and obviously who they're going to mark, who's going to be where and stuff like that. And it creates space for them. And if you look at the fact that for the Isak's goal, Wilson's actually running at the defenders, and obviously as soon as the one commits, he lays it off to Isak, who's in loads of space, probably the most space he had in the whole of the game. And with that quality and that ability that he's got, his finish was second. I mean, it was absolutely exceptional. To put it in that, that postage stamp top right-hand corner, as people say, it was a lovely finish, and no goalkeeper was going to stop that. You could have De Gea, Ramsdale, and there's not one single goalkeeper in the world, let alone the Premier League, would have saved that today. It was a fantastic finish. He was unlucky as well later on, where he had that ball through Area, made a good save as well. And then obviously off the rebound, we got the corner and stuff like that as well. So fantastic second half. And to be fair, his goal was a deserved winner. It deserved to win any game. That one, and I'm glad it did. We'll move on to Anthony Gordon now, because obviously he came on early. So we'll rate him, and we'll also do Wilson as well, since they played the full second half. What did you make of Anthony Gordon, quickly, Daz?
No, I thought he was class when he came on. Flash had a good game. Track back as well when he needed to. I give Flash an 8.
Pete, what do you make of Flash?
I gave Gordon a 7.5. I thought he did okay. When he come on, worked hard, ran the channels, did everything that you would expect him to do. There weren't really any sort of major moments that he kind of stepped out from. But yeah, I thought he came on and did the job for the team. He works incredibly hard, and we knew this from what he did at Everton. But yeah, there wasn't that I can remember any sort of standout moments that I thought, wow, like, that was class. So yeah, fair play to him.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Building and growing. Like
yeah.
I said to you guys before, when he signed, we're not going to see the best of Gordon until next season. Like I've said, this is him growing and developing and understanding what Howe wants him to do. So he's going to get sub appearances and do this type of role between now and the end of the season. I don't see him starting many games, but I thought he did okay.
Yeah, I'll give him a 7. I think it's like you said, Pete, he's finding his feet this season. Once he gets his full pre-season, I think that's when you'll see a different Anthony Gordon. One thing we always knew, and obviously one of the reasons why Eddie Howe and Dan Ashworth liked him, was because his work rate's phenomenal. And we've seen that every time he's come on, he's not stopped running. You look back at the West Ham game the other night when he won the ball back in the right back situation, and then it led to a goal. That's what you want from your wingers, tracking back and defending from the front. And he's got all the attributes to be a fantastic Newcastle player if he wants to be. That, for me, I think that's the one thing a lot of people say is he's still doubt his character to a degree and stuff like that. So,
you know. What age is Anthony Gordon again?
I think he's 21.
Oh, great age.
Yeah, we saw that at the same time because I saw you start to smile. PDK. You know what? I have to give a shout out to PDK. I've had a bit of a difficult time recently, but I spoke to him the other day, and he's great to see him in the chat again because he come back into the chat this week. Top man PDK, great to have you in the chat, and of course putting that little comment in, just wanted a little response from myself and Dad. So yeah,
Class. I think with that, what we'll do is we'll move on to Callum Wilson before we get into the league table and a few questions. So, what did everyone quickly make of Callum Wilson's second half performance?
I thought he was class. He got an assist. He's unlucky that his goal was ruled out because as I go into slow motion here, my camera. But yeah, he gets an 8 from me.
Pete?
Yeah, he has to. Yeah, I could move that to 8.5. I'll stick with an 8. I'll go with Daz. I thought it was brilliant when he came on. It was exactly what we needed at that particular time. He bullied those centre-backs, held up the ball really well, and it allowed Isak to come in and do what he did. I honestly think if he'd have replaced Isak, I don't think it would have changed too much, if I'm honest with you. But the fact that he came on and was able to play with Isak opened up the game massively. And it goes back to the manager. That goes back to the manager making that decision. That's what Eddie Howe's all about. So yeah, I'll give him an 8. I thought he was brilliant. Really, really unlucky to not get the goal because I think he deserved his goal, his performance. But look, I think he'll end up top scorer for us this season. I do. I think he'll end up top scorer. I think he's got a lot of goals left in him, as has Isak. I think they'll both get double figures, which is what I said to you guys a few weeks ago. I thought they're both getting double figures, and I hope Isak does as well.
And Miggy.
Miggy's already there. He's already on 11. He's there. But I do think Callum Wilson probably will finish top scorer this season with Isak and Miggy not too far behind. But yeah, good performance today in the second half.
Yeah, I've got to reiterate quickly what Pete just said. I thought he was fantastic. That extra quality came on. It created the extra space up front between him and Isak. It's nice to see that partnership developing when they play more minutes together. It's fantastic to see. But do you know what? Just following what you just said there, Pete, about getting double figures. Would you have imagined at the start of the season Newcastle having potentially 3? Even we'll see if Joe Linton's little burst of form goes as well. Yeah. 3, possibly 4 players getting double figures in a season.
When was the last time? You know what? This is the question.
This is where you need Keith Roll.
Exactly. When was the last time that we had 3 or more players
in double figures
for a season? This could genuinely happen.
Yeah,
it might even be the season we last finished third.
Possibly.
I've got no idea.
Mad at it. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll let someone in chat see if they can find that out before the end of the show for us, because obviously Keith would have been straight on it. But Daz, it's table time.
Table time. That's why I stick with this browser to do it easier. Here we go. Here's the table. So you'll see that we are sitting pretty still on third, 56 points, followed by Man United, who are also on 56 points. You'll notice the nice little 5 green ticks in a row there.
Is that the teams that have qualified for the Champions League already? You have to have 5 green ticks in a row.
It will. If we can continue with 5 more green ticks, I think that'll be accurate, Richie. But then Spurs, who got their win against Brighton, as you mentioned earlier, but they are on 30 games, so they have played a game extra, and they are on 53 points, and not on the greatest of form. The team that is on form is right behind that, and who we play next is Aston Villa. They are on. They played 30 games. They're on 47 points, so they are a bit behind us, but they are in form, and they must be a danger for us as we go play at Villa Park next weekend. And Brighton drop points today against Spurs, so they are looking a bit. They still have a game less played than us, but and they have a lot of games more to play. Someone actually asked a question as well, and I'll answer that now, because someone asked who is our game in hand, and it's against Brighton. It was Rich Jobling. So there
still isn't a date confirmed for that as well, because of they're still in the FA Cup, which is why they haven't finalised the date yet.
It'll be May. It'll be sometime in May.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah.
But yeah, sorry. Anyone else want to comment on the table?
I think what it shows it's going to be a pivotal 2 weeks for Newcastle. Aston Villa away next week, and then Spurs at home the week after. For me, the game that I'm more concerned about is Aston Villa next week. I'm confident we'll brush Tottenham aside at St James's Park in 2 weeks. Tottenham are bang average. I don't really want to go into the luck today of stuff that happened for Spurs today and stuff like that. If it doesn't need to be discussed. It is what it is, and that's how the stuff's been this season. But Villa Park's going to be a tough place to go again. It's one of those where when they're like firing, it can be a really, really difficult place to go. I've been there on a few away days and been fantastic results when I've been there. Luckily, Pete, I don't know if whether obviously I know it's close to your neck of the woods, whether you'll beat Villa Park in a few away days as well. It'll be
next week.
Yeah, next week. There you go.
Yeah, I'm there next week. Villa Park.
Can you bring Pete? Can you bring something to keep your keys in, or a pocket with a zip?
Oh, I'm going to.
He's buying a bum bag.
I've already got it planned as well. So yeah, don't worry. The keys the keys, the wallet, the phone, everything will be very tightly secured.
As long as with the 3 points as well, please.
Yeah,
that's the most important thing. Forget the keys and the phone.
Yeah.
Well, the missus will agree with me, but disagree with me. Sorry, but we need to bring those 3 points home, and that's a massive game for us. But look, it's great to see 5 wins in a row. All of those green ticks looks great. We've got a game in hand on Tottenham, so we can go 6 points clear. We can go back to what is it? Is it 9 points clear? No, we're 9 points clear at the moment. Sorry, Villa. But look, Brighton, we've got a game in hand. I've got a game in hand on news, but we play them. So we've got these teams around us. We've got the likes of Villa. Then we've got Tottenham after that. Then we've got Brighton that needs to be rearranged. We've got teams around us that we can effectively win that ends the conversation on this Champions League run-in. Like it's all in our hands. We've been saying it like for the last week now. It's all in our hands. We keep winning these type of matches. It puts teams out of bounds with us. If we play all of our games in hands and win them, it puts us 12 points clear of Villa. It puts us 6 points clear of Tottenham, who we then play next. If we win that goes to 9 points. That just separates us even further. It just puts us in an even better position for finishing in top 4. Now, obviously, Man United are on the same points as us and all the rest of that, and there's a lot of talk about that, but they've just lost Marcus Rashford today. He pulled up massively with a groin injury that's likely to put him out. Well, there you go. Now, the way in which he went off today says that that's an injury that's going to keep him out for at least 2 or 3 weeks. It was a groin injury. He didn't go down and get treatment and try and carry on. He knew straight away that he was injured. So therefore, he limped off, went back into the changing rooms. That for me is a serious injury, and Erik ten Hag's confirmed that. They don't know how bad it is, but for me, I wouldn't expect him to play for the next 2 or 3 weeks. Now, he's been their only major source of goals. Without him and Casemiro going into their next games, that's a different proposition for teams. And they could drop further points, which could help us. So this Villa game next weekend is massive. If we win that, Man United drop points, Tottenham drop points, Villa drop points off the fact of us beating them. That puts us in like an unbelievable position, going with 8 games to go into the last knock into the league. That sets us up perfectly to finish in the Champions League places, not just 4th, but 3rd.
I'll ask,
3rd right now.
Pete, I'll ask the question then. If we beat Aston Villa and Spurs, is that Champions League football guaranteed in your opinion?
I think, honestly, if we beat Aston Villa away next weekend and then we go and beat Spurs, which I think we can do both, by the way, I genuinely believe that we are favourites for 3rd position. That puts us in favourites for 3rd position. Because after that point, if I'm right in thinking, do we have
Everton,
we have Everton and Southampton as our next 2 games?
Yep.
For me, like they're the games that we want. We want Everton. We want to play Everton. Everton, they're at Goodison. They do all their blue smoke, all that rubbish, right? Yeah, it's great. All the rest of it. But when you put them on the pitch, we are a better team. Southampton, we're there. We better win. We better win.
We better win it, right?
We better win, picking up 3 points. So for me, if we win the next 2 games, I genuinely believe we've got an unbelievable chance of winning the next 2 after that. And
I've got to agree. Do you know why? Because when we play Everton on the Thursday night, before the Southampton game, Spurs and Man United play the same night at Spurs. And bear in mind, as we've just said, Rashford could be missing for 2 to 3 weeks, which would probably take us to the end of April.
Yeah.
Man United have got to play Forest, Spurs, and Villa in April in the Premier League. And they've also in that time got to play Sevilla in the Europa League and Brighton in the FA Cup.
Yeah. I genuinely believe that type of injury, they might rush him back, might give him an injection, I don't know. But let's be honest, the Carabao Cup, they rushed him back for that. The game at St James's Park, they rushed him back for that. There was question marks of his injuries in the build-up to both of those two games. They've clearly rushed him back. Then what they've done, they've played him at St James's Park, played him against Brentford, and played him against Everton. They've given him no rest. So that's why he's pulled up with an injury. And now their main source of goals have run out. So they're in a position now where they're going to be struggling. And Martial's back, but Martial's not on the level of Rashford. So it doesn't really matter. So it puts us in pole position for this third position. Now, what we need to do is rest, recuperate, is what you boys have said, and make sure that we're ready to go at Aston Villa. Because as the likes of Leicester and many others have proven this season, you can go to Aston Villa and win there, but you've got to do it right, and you've got to be up for it. You've got to put a performance in almost like the type of performance we put in against the likes of West Ham. Like, you don't want to put in a performance like we did against Brentford, because if you put a performance in like that against Aston Villa, where you give a half away, you're going to get punished. Now, what we need to do is do what we did against West Ham. Now, we've got Alan St-Maximin that's likely to miss that game. Equally, if anyone watched the game with Villa, Leon Bailey pulled up with a hamstring injury. So he's not likely to play, and he's a big player for them. So they're also going to lose players too. So it's a case of what we can do in the game. Now, our defence, can we keep Ollie Watkins quiet? I believe we can. Can we score goals? When you've got Tyrone Mings at the back, we can score goals. There's no doubt about it. He gives you a goal every time. So for me, I think we're in a great position to beat Villa. And look, I'm going to be there, and there was nothing better. I loved the Forest game, but there'd be nothing better than us taking 3 points from Villa. Sorry, Rich. Sutherland.
Yeah, no, just want to jump in, and Potsy knows that Newcastle are going to be in the Champions League next season. So, also he's reminding people to smash those likes. So get on that as well. Hit that like button and push us up the algorithm.
You know what, guys? Potts, great to have Potts in the chat. Potts has been one of our biggest supporters this season. There's a reason why he brought myself on to the Race for Europe show to represent Loaded Mag and Newcastle fans, because Potts sees the quality of football that we're playing like we see on a regular basis. He watches us. He watches again today. He was like, Isak's class. He's like, you guys, he said tonight, he was like, you guys are getting Champions League football. There's no doubt about it. Obviously, we're going to be nervous about it. We're not sure if we're going to get Champions League football, but Potts is been a massive supporter of Newcastle United this season. So big up to Potts. Fair play to him. If you haven't already, smash those likes and subs. We've already got 10 subs tonight. Plus, can we get 20 before the show's out? Anyone that hasn't yet subbed, just click that button. It only takes a second. Let's get us there. And maybe you'll hear this noise more often over the next year or so. Who knows?
Fingers crossed we will. Fingers crossed. You've got to just enjoy that music, don't you, Dad? It's going to be fantastic. Can you imagine what, I don't know if anyone saw the Jacob Murphy and Sean Longstaff interview when they were saying, Jacob Murphy said to someone before in the warm before the Southampton game, the atmosphere in the build-up for the semi-final second leg was absolutely phenomenal. He says that's what it would be like on a week-to-week basis for Champions League games at Newcastle. And it just excites you, doesn't it? Just that music. It's probably, it's not the best music, but everyone knows what it's synonymous about. It's the Champions League, and you want that to be played at your ground, don't you? So, yeah, fingers crossed, and hopefully, Dan's right about that, and we are hearing that next season. Daz, we're getting to the end of the show now. Do you want to tackle a few quick questions before we round up the show?
Yeah, there was a big one there in the chat. It was about Joe Linton, but we got past that, I think, just about. All right, let's go to another one. Should Isak and Wilson continue to play together? I don't think that's going to happen. Eddie Howe will stick with the formation he has. Tried and trusted. It'll only happen again if we go a goal behind and we need to mix it up. And it's good to know that we have that in our locker to mix it up. And whoever is on the pitch would stay on it, and the opposite one would join him and go for it, and we can get something out of it then. But so I don't think it's something that he won't go 4-4-2 to start the game. What
No,
do you
I
think, lads?
think it's one of those things. It'll be needs must. If I agree, Daz. I think it'll be. He's got his tried and tested formation set up and stuff like that. And I think, would he have done it today if Alan Saint-Maximin had been fit? Potentially not. Obviously, he knew that the game needed changing, and your game changes with Wilson and Gordon today. So I think that's probably the only reason why he did it and had both on at the same time. Did the decision work? Well, we won 2-1, so that's it backs up his changes.
Good point here from sorry, Pete, did you want to say anything else there?
No, I from my perspective, I'm just looking at what I eat there. Just put on Pete. Do you think that Villa will beat us next week? I never said that Villa would beat us, by the way. In that European show, I was the one person that said we have to beat Villa. So Villa will not beat. No.
To be fair,
we did.
I didn't. I went with that. You had to go with the majority because once there was 3, you had to turn and go with it. It wasn't like that. I don't think we'll lose that one. But
yeah, because I'm just looking back at that results. Sorry, the data from that show, and we had, because today we had that we beat Man United. I'll turn on my camera again. That we beat Man United. That we would beat West Ham. We said we'd draw our game today against Brentford, and we said we would lose against. Collectively said we would lose against Villa. So we're already up on what we said, and
not collectively.
Well, that was we'll have to watch it back. I can't remember, but let's move on to the next question. Great point here from Alan Thompson. Lads, do you know we cannot get relegated? Yes, today, and we cannot finish lower than 11th. Absolutely fantastic. No, always good to bring us down to earth there, Alan, on that one. No, because it's true. It's true. Thanks, Alan, for that. Also, another great point here. I think you heard of what Eddie Howe said, but anyone really know any more about Maxey's injury? It was talking about a hamstring injury beforehand, or was he being rested 2 weeks?
2 weeks. He said he felt some discomfort after the West Ham game, so they took him for a scan, and it's come back and said around the 2 week mark, which is why he's in the oxygen chamber, which is why we've seen what we've seen on social media today. So it's not. Eddie Howe said it's not something serious. A serious hamstring injury, talking 4, 6, 8 weeks. It's not that. It's a 2 weeker, so it's more like a slight strain more than anything. So a little bit of rest, a little bit of oxygen over the course of the next week or so. He'll miss Villa, and rightly so. You don't want to rush him back for that. They probably could, but you don't want to rush him back for that. But he'll be back for Tottenham, for Spurs, as would I eat their put. And hopefully we'll have him fit then for the remainder of the season. So it's the right thing. But we've got players coming back in. We've got Miggy Almiron that won't be too far away from the not too far after Tottenham. Maybe we might even see him back at Southampton, for example. Miggy Almiron. So, we're getting players back, and we've got other players that can come in. If Murphy continues to play well and Gordon continues to do the part, then we won't miss them, because we've not missed our top scorer so far, have we? In what's been a really tough week.
Cool. That's another great point from Geordie 2 for Life. Still unbeaten in London, only Chelsea to come. Very good point.
I've got another interesting fact for you as well, because since that's a nice fact that Geordie 2 for Life's got. Did you know that Newcastle are unbeaten on Eddie Howe on 3 p.m. kickoffs on a Saturday?
I did. Dominic Squirt had that out earlier. Yeah. That was a good one, and what did Jordan Cronin say? Now to get on Dom's back if a pylon if it backfires on him, but no, it didn't. So you're safe, Dom. Right, good question here from Charlie Hotspur. Why Botman hasn't scored a goal yet is a mystery. Should be a baller at corners. Only part of his game which needs improving. At Lille, he used to score regularly. A few misses have got to his head. Thoughts, lads?
Do you know what? I was going to say, Daz, for me, I wouldn't be looking at Botman hasn't scored a goal from a corner. I'd be looking at why we're not so good, full stop, with the hype we've got in the team from corners. You've also got to look at the fact that you've got Dan Burn in there. You've also got Fab Shah in there as well. Joel Linton as well, as as a big presence in the box as well. I wouldn't just be looking at Botman. I'd be looking at all of those. Why we're not scoring more goals from corners.
Pete, any thoughts on that one?
We don't play to their strengths. We put balls into the box. It's almost like we've got these players. We've got Burn. We've got Shaw. We've got Botman. They're all good in the air. But it's almost like we play balls into the box for Wilson, for Joe Linton, for Willock, for other players. It's almost like we're playing to confuse the opposition because they're the players that we expect to. For me, I think I saw it once today, but I've not seen it very often. I don't understand why Botman doesn't make the run across goal in the near post. Make the run across goal, a little bit like the likes of Nemanja Vidic used to do, the likes of John Terry used to do. Make the run across goal, get that little flick on, whip it into the far corner, or get the flick on that someone else can get on the end of that creates a havoc. We have Sven Botman right in the centre middle of things, which is easier to mark if you're someone marking Sven Botman. All you have to do is just kind of hold on to him and keep him close to you to stop him from getting on the end of things. If he makes runs, darting runs, and you put it into an area, it makes it so hard to mark him. And if you're going to stop him, you're probably going to end up pulling him down and winning a penalty for Newcastle. So I just think that we're not playing to the strength of the players that we've got in front of us. But look, Burns different. Burns had chances. He's just not put them away, in my opinion. That's the thing that lets him down. So Sven Botman needs to play to his strengths a little bit more.
Cool. There was a shout for the fixtures to come up on screen here. So from Mark and from Woody there. So here's just a quick update on where we are. We are going to do a proper full show on this again, but this is how it's looking. Sorry, wrong tab. That's what's our results. This is it here. Part 2, yeah. So 3 greens for us. 3 wins. And yeah, we're doing well. Couldn't do any better.
Brighton have got Chelsea next. Wow.
Chelsea next, I think. Yeah, that's when I
Man City.
change. And then Man City, yeah. So it's going to go south for Brighton, I think, soon enough. And that's why we need to keep they're well behind us, but let's keep Villa quiet and keep ourselves up as far as you can go as well. People asked about the fixtures. There's a quick snapshot of it. Pause it, and you'll get to see it towards the end again after the show. We just pause that bit and you'll see it.
You look at Tottenham. Look at Tottenham after next weekend. So they've got Bournemouth. Hold on. Yeah, they've got Bournemouth next. Next weekend we've got Villa. You look at that afterwards. Newcastle, Man United, Liverpool. That's where Tottenham will come unstuck. And that's where potentially where we've got Tottenham, Everton, and Southampton, that's where we can pull a gap. But if we win at Villa, if we lose at Villa or we draw at Villa, it gives them a little bit of a chance to push up. We'll still be a point ahead of them. If we get a point of Villa, we'll still be a point ahead of them. But our next 3 games after that, we beat Spurs, and then we've got Everton and Southampton. That's where we could potentially create the gap that ends up getting us Champions League football. It's a big moment. The next 3-4 games, huge.
Now, there's one last question I want to get to, and it's a very important question, and it comes in from Michael Palmer, and he just says, thanks for clearing that up, lads. So where does the booking put Joe in terms of a ban? So that is a very important, good question. I'm glad you asked that, Michael, and you're getting a one review show ban for that question. Now I'm going to start implementing the bans. So it was a yellow card earlier. You might have missed it, but it was if you play back, we gave you the yellow card, but now it's a red. So you're sent off for the next review show, Michael, for that one. Right, that is it. I think it was itchy, is it?
Just the sponsors to go through. If you want to do that, Daz, now we can round up and get shot.
Sure. Sure. Let's go for the sponsors. Yeah, so shout out to, and I'll remove the little banner so you'll see it. TheRadiatorShed.com, and as we put Pete in jail, and by now everybody knows that he's dying to get out of jail. Everybody knows that the radiators that Russ has on offer. You go talk to Russ; he will give you a discount as well. Tell him we sent him your sent you his way, and if you need to get them installed, talk to Russ as well, because he has a company called Install Works, and he will sort that out for you, no bother at all. Also, a shout out to H2O Bathroom Design Co., the Northeast's largest supplier of Vilcar and Bosch bathroomware. Team Valley Gateshead, over 20 years established, ran by the family. Get down to the showroom on 11th Avenue, Team Valley Estate in Gateshead. And yeah, you know the story at this stage. Great bathrooms here. So yeah, you need to go down to the showroom and check what's on offer. I'm sure there's even more stock in place with H2O Bathroom Design Co. now at the present. So check out the latest and greatest, and talk to Martin there. Martin will sort you out with that one, or go to Russ and he'll direct you towards H2O Bathroom. That is it for the sponsors, Richie. I know we will have shows. We'll have an away days. We may have a loaded mag coming up as well. Martin is just confirming everything's okay with that one, and we'll be back with a reaction show next week. And who knows what else might pop up along the way.
I think the first thing we'll do is obviously to cheer up 3 wins out of 3, 9 points out of 9 is first of all, thanks for everyone who's been watching us on this, as I said earlier on this Saturday night. 249 still watching in the chat, 168 likes. Let's see if we can get as much likes as we've had viewers. It'll be fantastic. We've had 10 extra subscriptions during the show. We always appreciate that. See if we can get a few more. It does help us get up the algorithms, the more likes we get, so people can see the fantastic content we put out there for you. We are trying to get on that push towards 6,000, which
199 likes.
Got up. Well, actually, it was 160. We were 168 when I looked last, so that's it's good to know on that. But also help us get on that push to 6,000 subscribers as well. I think we're on, was it 526 before the start of the show? So obviously, if you enjoyed the show, you obviously enjoy the content we put on there. Just give us the subscribe. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. And obviously you'll get notified half an hour before any time we've got a show released. Then you can join us live or catch you back at your leisure. Lads, fantastic week. We probably couldn't have dreamt we'd have got 9 points out of 9 when we did the show the other week. But this Newcastle United, the surprises for everything nowadays. Good performances where you go to West Ham and score 5. You play Man United off the park, and you still get 3 points when you play shit at Brentford. But look, yeah, Pete's right. Love for this club. Daz does as well. Pete does. We all do. But look, do you think we should play out with Isak tonight? Because obviously it was his goal that.
Yeah, go for it. Hit it, Richie. Yeah. Hit it.
Right.
Good night, everyone.
So, thank you very much, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll see you during the week. Good night.
Later.